What's up guys, Damian Keyes here. So something that crops up in the comments all of the time is my infatuation / obsession with a certain clothing brand. Apparently I wear it a lot. Now, this is true, but there is a story and there is a lesson to be learned about this. So come with me on a journey. So I started playing bass at the age of 15. In fact, it was my 15th birthday that I got my first bass and I fell in love. You've probably heard me say this before. Complete obsession, played all day, every day, to the point where I failed my GCSEs, I failed high school, had to go back a year, resat all the entire year and the exams, only to fail a second time, at which point I said to my mum, "Don't worry, mum, I'm going to be a rock star," and I went off to music college where I did a performing arts BTEC, which is, for people who aren't in the UK, it's basically the unfailable course. That's right, I absolutely failed my BTEC in performing arts, mostly because I just didn't turn up. I wasn't interested in lighting. I wasn't interested in dancing. All I wanted to do was play the bass all day, every day. And I believed that if I became the best bass player in the world, then that was my career absolutely sorted. There is some truth to that, but there is some stuff that nobody told me that I just wish I knew back then. So whilst I started playing bass at 15, I also started joining bands at 15 and getting asked to play in different bands because obviously there aren't many bass players. So I was quite lucky, and every time I got asked to be in a band, it was because of my technique and my talent and my obsession. When I was 16 years old, I joined a band called Crooked House, and it was technical metal, and we loved Dream Theater and Annihilator, and we loved polyrhythms and juxtaposition, and we loved stupid time signatures and beat displacement. Anything which was just as muso as we could possibly do went into our songs. I wanted to be a bass virtuoso. I wanted to be a bass player in a band that bass players knew about, not just some guy who stood at the back. So much so that when I was I think 17 years old, I did actually make a bass solo album, and no one will ever hear that. It seemed like a good idea at the time, but there was no social media. I wasn't able to be a one-man marketing bass player and be like a Davey 504 on YouTube. It wasn't something that I could do back then because there was no social media. And I wanted to be in a band. I wanted to tour the world in a band as a bass player. I just wanted to be recognized for the bass playing and nothing else. Now, I was never short of gigs. I was always playing, I was making money as a bass player, and I was always being asked to be in different bands, but they weren't really the bands I really wanted to be in, and I wasn't getting the gigs I really wanted to get. So, for example, when I was 20 years old, I used to write for Bassist magazine. I used to get featured in Guitarist and Guitar Techniques magazine. And as you can see by this video clip, when I was 21 years old, I was featured on a Fender startup video, which effectively for every single person that bought a Fender starter pack, they got a video, and it was, you know, me playing bass on the track. Every year there were trade shows, and I would always be asked to go on a trade show stand for a music shop or from a manufacturer, and I was asked to shred and noodle and slap and tap and just show off the instrument. All fantastic, but it wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be in a world-class band. But there was a huge problem, and it wasn't my playing. But I had neglected something major. This is a fashion-based industry, whether I like it or not. And the playing on its own, which I believed was enough, wasn't enough. And I had convinced myself and fallen into the trap that so many musicians to this day still fall into, which is the shoulda trap. The shoulda trap is exactly what it says. It's when you say it shoulda, it should, or it shouldn't. The music industry should be like this. And that was what I did. I basically said it should be about the music. It should be about just my bass playing. It shouldn't be about what I look like. It shouldn't be about my fashion. I don't care about my size. I don't care about how I look. It should be all about the talent and the bass playing. Well, it shoulda, but it isn't. So because of this, I was hampering my career, but I wasn't doing anything about it. In fact, I refused to do anything about it because of the shoulda trap. I just said, no, I'm not doing that. I am not going to change my moralistic standpoint and give in to wearing certain clothes. I am going to make this all about bass playing because that's what it should be about. And I massively hampered my career for a long time. And the reality of why I did that is because I didn't know what to do. I didn't understand fashion. I didn't want to understand fashion. I hated the idea of fashion. Now, because I wasn't good at it and I didn't understand it and I didn't like it, I ignored it. But what I could have done is I could have delegated it, or I could have got help with it, or I could have studied it. But instead, I neglected it. And what I actually did was I hampered my career by neglecting 50% of what is important. Great, you can play. But what do you look like? How are you going to fit in? And I was not getting picked up for gigs because of it. I was watching other people who were not technically as good as me getting gigs. And it drove me mad. It made me very, very angry and slightly bitter because I was the better player and I was more reliable than these people. But now looking back, I can see why I wasn't being in a band, which is all about being cool and looking a certain way whilst I was wearing my Welsh rugby jersey. So as an example, check out this clip. Okay, when I was 18 years old, I was asked to play Hyde Park to 150,000 people, and it was like rock royalty. It was like Alanis, Morissette, The Who, Bob Dylan, just so many famous people, Jules Holland, just masses of famous people playing this. And I was asked to play at the age of 18 with a bunch of other guys as like tomorrow's stars. It was amazing. We did loads and loads of press in the lead up to it. And I had to go on TV all around for different TV companies around the world and do interviews about this great show. What did I choose to wear? A Welsh rugby jersey. Now, I'm very proud of being Welsh, but I wasn't not doing myself any favours. And it was a deliberate, defiant act, which is, I got here on my playing merits. You will take me as I am. And I'm not going to bow to this peer pressure of looking good. The irony of the whole thing is I didn't actually care what I wore. Even up until recently, I would wear what people sent me. If bands sent me band t-shirts, I'd wear band t-shirts. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not a fashionable person, but I did always recognize that I was missing out because of it. Now, close to 10 years ago, when I sold my shares in BIMM and I started a band because I needed something to take my mind off selling a company, which was a pretty stressful time. I started a band, and as I was a very bad singer, but I loved the idea, myself and my best mate decided to start a band and we were going to be the singers. And being a singing bass player instead of a bass player, I realized very quickly that I wasn't in any position to look like I was fronting a band. I wasn't cool. And it was like the harder I tried, the worse it got. And as you can see with some of these pictures from when we started this band, we had no clue what we were doing. This was 10 years ago and I was just struggling to look different or look cool, and all I was doing was looking more uncool the harder I tried. Now, before I go into this next bit, I want to say I am not saying I am fashionable, and I'm certainly not saying for you to hold me up as some kind of fashion icon, because I am far from it. But a couple of years back, when I got with my girlfriend who is into fashion, I gave her free range on my wardrobe and I said, look, I get it, I probably should make more of an effort, which she agreed with. And she threw out, I shit you not, she threw out 2/3 of my entire wardrobe. She was brutal. Everything went, and she gave me a little bit of advice, which was certain colors, certain styles, and just said, stick to this, it's nice and simple. All Saints was one of those, and so I went to town and just bought a bunch of it so that I didn't have to think about it. But it has made such a difference with the opportunities that it's opened up for me, and I recognize that it has made a massive difference. Now, here's the key thing. I still don't give a shit. I still don't care about what I wear. I'll wear jeans and a t-shirt. I really don't care. I've got stuff to do. It's not my priority to think about this sort of stuff. But one thing I have learned is other people do care. Other bands do care. People who have the opportunities, they do care, and they do judge you on it. And so therefore, whilst I don't care, I have to admit my life has been a lot easier when it comes to opportunities and doing things when I do it for other people rather than making the point that I don't care. So I don't go looking for clothes. In fact, far from it. I mean, you can see I bulk buy a bunch of things, and I feel like I've now got this one in, one out thing. I don't have to think about it because I'm sorted for a little while and I can prioritize other things. But I look back on my career and I just think, I wish someone had sat me down at 20 years old and just said to me, keep doing the same thing with your playing. Your playing's really good. Keep doing that. Keep taking that seriously, but just eat a bit better. Just go to the gym a couple of times a week, because I was a bit fat and someone should have just gone, you're a bit fat, that's not going to help. Don't forget the shoulda thing. You're a bit fat, it's not going to help. You're a bit uncool. You've got a terrible haircut. Go and get your haircut, and don't spend £7 on a haircut. Go and actually get someone who actually knows how to cut hair properly, which might cost a little bit of extra money, but it will make a difference. Sort your wardrobe out, and I promise you, it will make the world of difference. I wish someone had said that, and I wish if they had said that, I would have listened, because I feel like the amount of opportunities I missed out from being so stubborn, falling into the shoulda trap of what should happen and what's fair and what's not fair, cost me big time in my playing career. So, all joking aside, I hope you've had a laugh looking at younger, very, very uncool me. I had to get some of this stuff digitized from VHS. I was like from 17 to 18 years old. So, whilst it's all fun and games, I want you to think about it, because it is serious, because I do look back and just think I could have done so much more. I could have made my life as a player so much easier if I'd actually reflected with some self-awareness on my image and my look, not for me, but for somebody else looking at me to take me onto a gig. I want you to think about that and see if that actually resonates with you, and if there's something you can think about, if something you can do about it. But thanks for watching. If you can do me a huge favor, like, subscribe, it really helps the algorithm. More importantly, it just makes me feel all warm and fuzzy. So comment down below and just be a part of this community, and hopefully we will be in touch with each other in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow.